Right, let's do voting. Because Wayne Glue is telling you to do one thing and Karen Brewer is telling you another, and there's plenty of people out there that are telling you to not vote, all of the different things that go on every time we have a vote, right? I don't personally believe that the government allows we the people anymore to take part in the selection of the candidates. I believe that they, I believe that they're already chosen. I believe it's all a done deal behind the scenes. That's just my opinion, right? But what I can tell you is we have to sort of back up what we're doing with what is the most effective way to push back against the system if you don't believe in it. So I believe that Wayne Glue's method of attending the polling booth, not getting your name struck off, but getting the AEC member that is at that polling booth to sign off the letter saying that there was no constitutionally viable candidates available for you to vote for. So that's a reference to the Australian Constitution Act that comes out of the 1900 UK Constitution, right? So what he's saying is that there's sections in there that say that I think it's the governor has to select from a pool that are put forward for you to vote for, right? So they're not going through the proper process. Even though it's a very old process, our Constitution stands. Don't let them mess with one part of the Constitution, because then they'll be messing with all of it. So if they don't like the Constitution, have a referendum and change them. That's what it's there for, so that we, the people, know when they're changing things, right? So there's things inside of that they're not doing. That's why Wayne Glue says, show up, don't get your name struck off, get the letter signed that you were there, because under this Commonwealth Electoral Act 1918, in different sections of it, it talks about that it is mandatory to attend. And even though they say it is compulsory voting, it is the attendance that they're really worried about, right? So they need you to show up and then get your name struck off. And then no matter what you do, whether you draw a dick pic, whether you write 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 in a donkey vote, whether you do what Karen Brewer is saying and cross all the boxes out and say no candidates available to exercise my will or do what I wish, they all go in what they call the informal vote pile. That's what this legislation says. And so basically, if there's 100 people in your electorate, they would mark off 100 people, and 10 of those are people who draw dick pics, write donkey votes, or do what Karen Brewer is saying, then 90 are formal votes and 10 are informal votes, and that just goes through to the government as a percentage, right? And what they're hoping by doing it this way is that they might receive 51% of the voters not voting properly in informal votes, which means the vote doesn't count and you have to resit it. So I don't see much of a big deal with that, because it's not really taking the constitutional issues to the man, because like I said, draw a picture of a dick on it, donkey vote, or write something really clever like Karen has put forward on the paperwork, and they all get counted the same, just as an informal vote. Nobody actually gets to have a look at it. And the chances of actually getting 51% are very low, right? And the reason for that is because in America, they don't have to vote. So greater than 50% of the country that was eligible to vote in America didn't, which means that the people that actually got off their ass and make the effort to fulfill their democratic duty or right and go and vote, most likely are passionate enough to want the left or the right to win, which means that they might be biased, but at least they're standing for what they believe in. In this country, in Australia, it is mandatory to attend the polling booth. That's all they want. They don't give a shit about if you do an informal vote after that. They just want you to show up like a good little servant and strike your name off that you did what you were told and showed up, and then they don't give a shit what you do after that. Donkey votes less than 51%, they don't care, right? So the problem with that is all you get then is uneducated, unwilling people who are not really caring about the democratic process. They don't really believe in the politics. They're not real sure on who to vote for. All they do is emotionally make their decision on the day. Am I better off than what I was 3 years ago? No? Cool. I vote the other way. Yes? Cool. I stay where I am. It doesn't matter about the Constitution. It doesn't matter about the illegality of what's going on in the background. It doesn't matter about the human rights that are being slaughtered. It only matters about the dollars in the pocket and how they are emotionally feeling on that day. And considering that most of them do it on a Saturday, well, it has to be done on a Saturday. I'd imagine 80% of them are either hungover or tired as shit from going to work and really don't feel like thinking about politics on the morning of, so just go down there, get it done. 9, 8, 4, 3, 2, 1, 7, 6, put it in. Right or wrong, it's informal or formal, the government does not care. The other thing that I found in reading this legislation was this part here. This part here where it says they have to, if you don't show up and you don't have a reason, it is their job to strike you off, make a list and send you a fine, right, to say that you failed to vote and give sufficient evidence, and the fine is $20. Now, most acts that have fines in them, fees in them, or monetary values in them have a regulation section on the bottom of them giving them the power to, without changing the act, to up or alter the price of the price or the value of the monetary amount that they've got in them. This act doesn't have that regulatory authority attached to it. So you can see from the fine that I just received from not voting in the Queensland election, allegedly, that $160 is the fine I got. They tell you they're really great guys and they're going to give me a discount because I've made a mistake, allegedly. And if I pay it on time, bluff, they'll make it $80 fine instead of $160 fine. But you can see the $160 fine is 8 times this amount. And in this act, the Commonwealth Election Act 1918, it doesn't have wiggle room in there. So again, these are just the legal loopholes that they consider us too stupid to take notice of, as they just plummet as they push the prices up. Now, I imagine they have changed that act at some stage, because $20 back in 1918 would have been a pretty big deal. So obviously it's been updated, but they just probably can't keep up with the inflation at the moment. Otherwise, they'd have to change it every week. But yeah, like I said, in conclusion, Wayne Glue's way is the best. As far as I'm concerned, showing up, not getting your name marked off, getting a letter by the AEC representative signed to say there was no constitutionally lawful candidates available for you to vote for. Do not get your name struck off, and then you wait. You wait until you receive your letter from them, allegedly or accusing you of not attending the voting station, and you supply them the letter as your evidence of why you will not be fined, but it also gets to be recorded on a record of why you chose not to partake in the vote. I think it's a much better way of everybody pushing back against the system, rather than just getting chucked in with the dick pics on the informal vote section and nobody really knows about it. Because the chances of you getting a 51% no vote are none. I'm going to say that as none. The Queensland election went through last year. We had 33% Labor, 35% Liberal. I think that's how it sort of went, 35, 30, 33, 35. Like One Nation got like 5%, and I think it was like 8% for the Australian Medical Marijuana Party or something along those lines. I mean, they got more votes than One Nation. So if you think that you're going to suddenly turn a state or a nation into a 51% chance, you are absolutely kidding yourself. So your vote will be put in with the dick pics. That's the cold hard reality of it. Now, 100% respect to what Karen Brewer is saying. 100% respect to all those out there that are saying don't vote, don't partake in the treason, yada, yada, yada. But that's their game, right? That's their game, to just do things belligerently without education or knowledge to empower yourself to understand why we don't do things. Because just running around telling people not to do things doesn't make us any wiser, doesn't give us back our power, doesn't help us understand what is going on constitutionally. We need to understand the legislation that is guiding us to making the decisions to say, you are the people that are doing the wrong thing, not us. We value our constitution for the time being. Even if self-governance is not yet an option, then a constitution is the only thing that sort of gives us the power to push back against those that wish to do the wrong thing by it. So, Commonwealth Election Act 1918, plenty of information in Section 245 and Section 241 to tell you what to do, how to do it, and Wayne Glue's method for not partaking lawfully is the best one that I think. I myself will not be taking part as I work my way off the ship, but for those that are still on it, or for those that think that they are not getting value for the bang for their buck for the voting, that is the way that I would do it.